Hi everyone! Ready to hear what happens next in the story? Let's get into it then. Chapter 8 Gloves, Clubs, and Lola. It didn't take very long for Alistair to appear in the kitchen. Raphael was doing the dishes in the kitchen with a deceptively calm expression on his face. Skye walked past me, looking like she was about to cry, and you're in here sulking. Talk! Raphael did not turn around. She was about to cry? He asked, setting a dish into the dishwasher. You asked her? Alistair countered. I did, said the blonde flatly, still not turning all the way around. She needed time to think, according to her. Alistair looked at him with concern, marring his features. You do know that's not an outright rejection, right? There's still a chance, you know. I know, he replied heavily, sitting at the table with a weary expression on his face. It does nothing to reassure me, though. Alistair was silent, unsure of what to tell the eldest biker. The sound of the front door being kicked open jarred them out of their thoughts, and they hurried out to the front hall to investigate the source of the commotion. As they got out of the kitchen, they came face to face with an unfamiliar girl around the same height as Skye. She seemed to be about the same age as well. Her hair fell in long, lustrous waves, framing her face nicely, and her blue eyes were almost crackling with wrath. What really got their attention was the metal baseball bat that she had clutched in her hand. Where is my best friend? The girl snarled, causing even Alistair to flinch from the iciness in her voice. Your best friend? Asked Raphael cautiously, wondering if he needed to arm himself. The girl's eyes held a murderous light in them at the moment. She narrowed her eyes and marched up to Alistair, poking him in the chest with several vicious jabs. I sense that my best friend is distraught. I demand that you tell me where she is, now! Alistair frowned, a realizing expression appearing on his face. Skye's upstairs, he said, pointing in the direction of the stairs. The unidentified girl immediately shoved past him and took the stairs two at a time to get up. Alistair exchanged confused glances with Raphael, both coming to the decision to not get involved. Meanwhile, the girl had stormed down the hallway to a closed bedroom door and kicked it a few times for good measure. Go away, Valen, called Skye's voice thickly through the door. Not Valen, chica. Get out here now. Get out here now, she replied fiercely, folding her hands over her chest and tapping her foot impatiently. There was a small noise from inside the room, and then the door opened. Skye peeked around it miserably. Her eyes were red and puffy. Lola, what are you? How did you? Best friend telepathy, said the other girl softly, some of her anger dissipating when her eyes landed on Skye. She held her arms out, and Skye came in for a hug. I sensed that something hurt you, so I packed up my stuff and came here. Sky gave her a watery smile. Thanks, Lola, she said as Lola came into the room, closing her door behind her. Lola had been her best friend for 10 years. She reflected as the other girl came further into her room. The Hispanic girl, while something pushy, knew exactly what to say and how to say it. It was no wonder she had known Sky was feeling distressed. It was also because of Lola that she knew how to speak almost perfect Spanish. Who were the other two guys downstairs? Asked Lola. I passed them earlier, and I'm pretty sure I owe the red-haired guy an apology. I may have bruised his chest. That was Alistair. I'm surprised he didn't kill you for that, said Sky with a little laugh. My other roommate is testing out one of his Christmas presents. His name is Valen, and he's from Australia. He's a little crazy, but he's a good person. And the big blonde guy? Who was that? Sky flinched. That was Raphael, she said quietly, her hazel eyes going to a velvet box sitting on her cabinet. Lola studied her friend intently. Is he the guy I need to beat the crap out of? She asked, bringing the baseball bat to her hand, tapping it against the palm of her other hand. Sky shook her head quickly, chuckling. No, I don't think you'd even bruise him, Lola, she replied softly. What did he do, Sky? If he hurt you? No, nothing like that, Lola. I'll tell you later. Guys, looks like there are gonna be some words in Spanish, so I'll try to say them. I'll try somehow to tell them. Dímelo ahora, chica. Bueno, Sky replied, holding her hands up reassuringly as she lapsed into Spanish. El rubio me preguntó si quería ser su novia y le dije que no porque usted sabe quién. Lola looked at the girl, to the velvet box on the table, and then back to Sky. Veo, pobre chica, she said, her eyes softening in sympathy. There was a brief pause, and then Lola clapped her hands together. Well, onto something more cheerful. I have clothes here, yes? Yep, although I'm pretty sure you outgrew them, Sky replied with a more cheerful laugh. Lola pouted for a moment before her eyes lit up. I have both the cure to your ills and the solution to my problem, she declared, grabbing Sky and dragging her from the room. Before she could probably protest, Lola dragged her down the stairs and into the family room, where Alistair and Raphael were sitting in the family room. I have a cure, she announced, earning startled expressions of alarm from Alistair and Raphael. The two men looked at each other in confusion before their eyes traveled back to Lola. Cure to what? They asked at the same time. Sky perked up, her hazel eyes locking onto her friend hopefully. Is it what I think it is? If you guessed shopping spree, then you will be correct, Lola said with a giggle, a wide grin splitting her face. Oh, joy! Alistair groaned, flopping onto his side on the sofa. And they're going to drag us along, most likely. I'll pass. I don't mean to be a damper, but the stores are closed today because it's Christmas. I got lucky with my delivery because the mailman was kind enough to help me out, Raphael said quietly. Lola shrugged. We'll go tomorrow. We'll go tomorrow, Sky. In the meantime, let's toss out your Miley Cyrus clothes and the ugliest in the closet. We need to get some space in that closet if we're going shopping. What about your bags? Alistair called up to Lola when he noticed the duffel bags by the doorway. That is what you're for, she replied from somewhere upstairs. I am no one's lackey, he protested, grabbing her bags nonetheless and carting them upstairs. The next evening, the front door to the house opened and Sky and Lola came strolling in, holding a multitude of shopping bags on each arm, and each of them giggling madly at some private joke. How was the trip? Alistair asked, looking up at the two of them. You two were out for 8 hours, so I have to wonder what you got. This isn't even half of it, said Sky with a laugh, beckoning someone behind her into the house. The clan came into the hall, carrying a fairly high stack of boxes and bags in his arms. Where do you want these? He asked in gasp, struggling to hold up the pile of purchases in his arms. Upstairs in Sky's room will be perfect, said Lola imperiously. Where's Raphael? Asked Sky, suddenly realizing that the blonde had not come to the door to investigate. He just now left to take Jasper out for a while. Don't know when he'll be back, Alistair said brusquely over his shoulder, helping the clan up the stairs. He had taken pity on Sky's brother and had decided to lend a hand. Sky nodded, looking uncertain. So where's Valen? She asked, half wondering if he was going to avoid her too. Pulling pranks on the neighbors with Amber, Alistair replied from where he was upstairs, yelping soon afterwards. Damn it, Declan. Watch where you're putting the boxes. Who's Amber? This crazy girl that lives next door to us and plays pranks on people with Valen. She's lots of fun, said Sky, still glum about Raphael's disappearing act. Lola dropped her bags on the floor and studied Sky, a hand on her head. You know what you need to do? What? Come in closer, because it's a secret, said Lola conspiratorially, her blue eyes glinting in mischief. Sky sighed, but complied, and Lola leaned in all the way next to her ear. The thing you need to do is, she began in a whisper. Is? Prompted Sky. Go clubbing! Screamed Lola into her ear, causing Sky to let out a startled scream and back away from her best friend. Who's clubbing? Raphael asked as he came in through the front door, with Jasper behind him. We are, said Sky brightly, having gotten over the shock and looking much happier. She had temporarily forgotten about Raphael and the awareness that had existed before them since the day before. You betcha we are, Lola declared, grabbing Sky's arm and zooming out of the hall with her. Now, let's go get ready. Jeez, not again. You're going to yank my arm off, Sky screamed as they disappeared from view. On the upper landing, however, they bumped into Alistair and nearly knocked him over. What's the rush? Asked Alistair grumpily. Lola's dragging me to a club, began Sky, but Lola cut her off with a tooting noise. Hey, it's not just you who's going. Raphael and Alistair are coming as well. Maybe Valen if I can wrangle him into this. I never agreed to that. Alistair and Sky protested at the same time. Tough luck. We leave at 9. Be ready by 8:45, both of you. Let Raphael know too, Red. It's only 5:30 though. Girls take more time to get ready to club, Alistair, said Lola matter-of-factly. Let's go, Sky. Sorry, Alistair, Sky said, a sympathetic look in her eyes. You guys don't have to. We are, said Alistair firmly. He'd resolved that, one way or another. Raphael and Sky will talk. He was getting annoyed with the way both of them seemed to be avoiding each other. And if clubbing meant a chance to work everything out, then he'd do it. I'll let Raphael know, he continued, going back down the stairs to inform Raphael. Don't worry, we'll be ready. You better be, Red, called Lola after him, or you'll regret it. You don't scare me, little girl, Alistair replied drily. You wanna bet, Red? Challenged Lola, eyeing him threateningly. Typical girls. They said be ready by 8:45, and we're ready to go. But are they ready? No, Alistair muttered, pacing the room. Alistair was wearing a pair of skinny jeans and an AC/DC t-shirt. It's not a big deal. Maybe they decided they didn't want to go after all, Raphael said. He was wearing jeans and a dark blue t-shirt and looked as if he desperately wanted to stay home. Alistair gave his friend a severe glare. You're going, so don't whistle out of it. I don't think this is a good idea, Alistair, said Raphael uncomfortably. Is that because Sky is going? Raphael winced. Maybe it is. Right, and avoiding her is being so productive, isn't it? He challenged. Okay, we're ready, Lola called, walking down the stairs and cutting off the beginnings of Raphael's reply. She was wearing a short green cocktail dress with black pumps. Her hair had been straightened and fell to her waist in dark waves. We? It looks like it's just you, Alistair said, smirking. Lola blinked, turning around and confirming that she was alone. Sky, get your butt down here, she hollered up the stairs. I'm coming, came the grumbled reply, and Sky came into view. Her figure was obscured by Alistair's black trench coat. Oh, no, you don't. You're not going in that. No coat, Lola snapped, stomping over to her and in one swift motion yanking the trench coat off of Sky. The other girl had elected to wear a knee-length, one-strapped sparkling silver dress. When she shifted in the light, her dress nearly went black. Her outfit was completed by a pair of strappy high-heel sandals. So, what do you two think? Lola asked, doing a twirl in place while the other two men stared. Sky shifted uncomfortably, but Raphael was pointedly not looking at her. Oi, Valen said, entering the house. Me and Amber are going off to... He trailed off when his eyes landed on Sky and Lola. Dang, you ladies look hot, Valen said bluntly. Anyways, fellas, I'm off. Don't worry about me. We tend not to waste effort on that, muttered Alistair, earning a parting squall from Valen as he left the room. Chapter 10. Wait. Chapter 9. Grub Drama. "You having fun, girl?" Lola said, screaming over the loud music while dancing with Sky. Raphael and Alistair both had declined to dance, and somewhere in the shadows they were keeping an eye on both of the girls. Sky merely laughed in reply. The dancing was helping her clear her head, and she had almost forgotten about what had happened on Christmas Day. The two girls said nothing after that, instead continuing to dance to the music. When the song ended and the next one began, Sky reached over and tapped Lola on the shoulder. "I'm going to get a drink," she shouted over the music. Lola nodded absently, already lost in the song. Sky maneuvered her way through the crowd, waving when she got a brief glimpse of Alistair and Raphael. She turned and kept going for the drink counter. She was about halfway there when a hand on her shoulder halted her progress. The owner of the hand stood at the height of 6'3", had russet-colored hair and pale blue eyes. "Hey, Sky," he said over the music. "Just passed my sister," he continued, gesturing to where Lola was still dancing. "What brings you two to my club? I haven't seen you both in ages." Lola came up behind them, leaning against her brother. "Hi, Mitch. Sky's having some guy problems. I'm here to straighten things out." "Lola, who gave you permission to tell everyone what my problem is?" Mitchell just laughed. "That's cool. Sorry that whatever it is didn't work out. I better go and check the bars. Clay isn't doing his job," he sighed, pointing at the shaggy blonde leaning against the counter. "I'm going to get a drink before I get interrupted again," Sky said as she headed towards the bar, allowing Lola to start dancing again. She didn't get very far though. The moment she reached the dimly lit bar area, a rough hand grabbed her upper arm and wheeled her around to face its owner. "Well, look who's here," an unfriendly voice asked, identifying the speaker as a man. Her breath caught in her throat, and her eyes widened in horror when her eyes landed on the man who had her in his grasp. His brown hair was slicked back with gel, and he was wearing jeans and a ripped-up muscle shirt. My, it's my little Sky," he almost purred, a sick smile sliding onto his face. "Been a while since I seen you. What have you been up to?" "Last I checked, I don't belong to you or to anyone else," she growled, trying to yank her arm out of his grip. "Let go of me." "Aw, don't be like that. Is that any way to threat an old friend?" he called, and this time Sky managed to yank her arm free. "Why don't we catch up?" "The only thing I want you to catch is the plague, you bastard," she snarled, backing away furiously. An ugly look crossed his face then. "Don't you walk away from me, Skylar," he said sharply, grabbing her arm again and yanking her toward him. Without thinking, she reached for the nearest drink on the table and splashed it in his face, twisting out of his grip. "Touch me again and I'll break your hand off," she spat venomously. He stared at her mutely for 1 second, and then he punched her in the face. Sky didn't have enough time to make a sound, but the force of the punch knocked her backward, and she lost her balance. She toppled into a nearby glass table, alerting the surrounding people that something was not right. As she felt the back of her head contacted the corner of the table, and she let out a pained cry as she dropped to the floor. Sky's entire face dropped painfully, and blood trickled down her cheek as she rose shakily to her feet. Her vision spun and dipped crazily, and she had no idea how badly she had been hurt. She glanced at her arm and noticed that a large shard of glass was embedded in it. She found this oddly funny, definitely a sign that she wasn't doing so hot. The man advanced on her again threateningly, but then something moved in between them and blocked her view of him. A pair of arms steadied her and held her gently as she looked up and caught a pair of familiar blue eyes looking down at her wildly. "Hey, Raphael, did you know you have 4 eyes?" she mumbled. Alistair, meanwhile, stood his ground between the offender and Sky. His gray eyes narrowed menacingly. "Mind explaining what could possibly make you want to hit a lady?" he asked coolly. Lola shoved her way through the crowd and without preamble went straight for the man who had punched Sky. "Hijo de puta!" she snarled, lunging towards the man with murderous intent in her eyes. Alistair reached for her and yanked her back behind him. "Hey, she started it," said the unnamed man. "She dumped her drink on me." "That's never an excuse to hit a woman," retorted Alistair stiffly, looking distinctly displeased. "Besides, she didn't start anything, Caden," Lola spat. "What do you want with her? In all the years you dated her, you didn't do anything but break her heart. She wants nothing to do with you, and you can't get anything more out of her." While the dispute was going on, Raphael directed his attention to the semi-conscious girl he was holding up. Sky's eyes were going in and out of focus as she stared up at him, and blood was trickling down her arms and face in slow rivers. "My head hurts," she said in a tiny voice. Raphael felt something akin to anger beginning to burn in his blood. "Don't be silly, Lolly," said Caden nastily. "She still has one thing to offer me, you know. After all, she's still pure, if you catch my drift." The white-hot emotion that seared through Raphael's veins then could be the best described as a roar of rage. Alistair, who had turned when a strangled snarl escaped the blonde's throat, took a couple steps over to Raphael and draped one of Sky's limp arms over his shoulder. "I've got her," he said softly. The moment the words left Alistair's throat, Raphael strode to Caden and towered over him. The sleek-haired man took a cautionary step backward when he saw the stormy and furious expression on Raphael's face. "I don't care who you are or how you are associated with her. You so much as breathe in Sky General's direction, and I will end you," Raphael vowed in a tone that could melt steel. Caden blinked, staring up at the menacing and imposing figure of the oldest biker before letting out a snort. "Who do you think you are?" he growled, lunging forward to try and punch Raphael. The burly man eyed Caden with a look of utter contempt and then sidestepped the punch, grabbing the other man's arm and twisted it violently behind his opponent's back. Caden howled in pain, struggling to get loose. Right about that time was when the club's bouncer stormed out of the back room, Mitch right behind him. "Who the hell is the asshole that is making all this noise?" boomed the bouncer. Lola and Alistair simultaneously pointed to Caden. The man squinted in the darkness and then growled. You again, punk? Thought I told you not to come in this place again. Yo, Blondie, let him go, he said irritably. I got it from here. Raphael gave him a rough shove in the direction of the bouncer, turning his back on the man and returning to Sky's side. The anger slid off his face and was replaced by open concern. Sky had slipped into unconsciousness while he had been dealing with Caden. Mitch glanced in the direction of Sky and his sister and turned to Caden with a darkened expression. Right, heads up. You are officially banned from this club, and I'm going to be dropping a call to every club in Domino to let them know all about you. Now get the hell out! He waited until the bouncer began boldly dragging him out of the building before looking over at the small group. His eyes softened and a genuinely concerned expression appeared on his face. Is Sky all right? He asked, directing his question to Lola. I don't know, said his sister shakily, watching as Raphael gently scooped the now unconscious girl into his arms. Mitch sighed. There's a clinic nearby here. You should take her there and let the doctor examine her. I'll drop them a call and let them know you're on the way. Okay, I can get them there, said Lola, biting her lip as she hurried away. A few minutes, the three of them were heading out the door, carrying the unconscious Sky with them. Chapter 10. Realization. Sky's POV. My vision was blurred when I opened my eyes, and my face still hurt. How hard had Caden hit me anyways? I glanced over to my left when I heard a few voices murmuring softly, but they were just out of my sight. I managed to catch a glimpse of the bandages that were wrapped around my arm, and I remember seeing a shard of glass that stuck out of it from somewhere in my mind. Not so funny now. I tried to lift myself up, but a searing pain shot through my head, and I groaned, putting a hand to it and whimpering. Almost immediately, a pair of eyes entered my vision. Sky? You waking up? Asked Amber as she flopped onto my bed. Obviously, I muttered. How long have I been out? A day and a half, said Lola, entering the room and examining me with worried blue eyes. You had to get some stitches in your arm and on your forehead, not to mention that you had a concussion. As long as you take it easy, though, Doc said you could stay here. Doctor? My mom, said Amber matter-of-factly. She works at the clinic that you were taken to after you got all beat up. I looked up that guy's address, by the way. His brand new car has now been blown to smithereens. She finished with a wicked smile. A doctor gave birth to that crazy psychopath? Who knew? Alistair commented, entering my bedroom next. I feel popular, I said flatly. Who's going to walk through the door in me? Oh God, Valen! Ow! Get off! I yelled when Valen leaped at me and enveloped me in a hug. Sorry, Sky, but you're awake now, and that makes everything better, he said in a rush, grinning at me madly. I know you're happy, but could you be less enthused? I grumbled as I began stretching my arms and legs. That guy was an ass, Alistair said, leaning against the doorframe. And you actually dated him? Talk about psycho excess. I shrugged, though a flash of discomfort went through me when Caden's face resurfaced in my mind. It was a mistake. He tricked me, and I was younger than I was now. Lola watched me for a little longer and then sighed in relief. Well, anyways, chica, I stayed here long enough to make sure you were okay, and I would stay longer. I got a call from my mom and dad though, and they insist that I come home for my grandparents' visit. Okay, Lola. Thanks for the shopping trip and the clubbing. No problem. Only wish I hadn't gotten beaten up, I joked, watching Lola leave as I swung out from under the covers. Alistair raised an eyebrow. Why are you getting out of bed? He asked. Lola said I could take it easy. It doesn't mean I have to stay in bed, I replied as I padded past him and went downstairs. I remembered that my book was down by the sofa, and I wanted to at least grab it before I went back to my room. As it turned out, Raphael was downstairs as well, cleaning up the family room. When he saw me come in, I saw relief enter his eyes, and he straightened up. You're awake, he said, setting down a pile of miscellaneous magazines on the coffee table. He kept his distance, though he looked like he wanted to get closer to me. Yeah, I'm feeling better too. Came down from my book. Alistair's about to drag me back into bed, but I need to get my book first. I see. I'm cleaning up. I've got a co-worker coming over for lunch and the place looks like a mess, replied Raphael with a small laugh. Fun, I said, pushing past him with my book in hand. I'll keep out of your way while your worker friend is here. I also locked Valet in the closet for you so that he doesn't blow something up. As I headed up the stairs, I heard Raphael let out a soft chuckle, and I felt a smile come onto my face. I had not felt any sort of awareness of awkwardness at all when I had been in the room with him, even though we still kept our distance. It was a good omen. Hello? Hey, Declan. Hey, Sky. What's up? The ceiling, I said. Obviously. What's up? I sighed. I want some advice. It's about a guy, isn't it? Declan said in a questioning voice. Maybe? A brief pause. Raphael, huh? He said, knowingly at last. How did you? Duh! It's obvious that he likes you, Sky. He does? How do you know that? Well, let's start with his body language. Does he lean in closer whenever you're talking? Does he sit or stand so close that his arm or leg is brushing you? I mulled this over. He does actually, now that you mention it, I said slowly. Okay, now what about his eyes? The eyes are the windows to your soul, and it should be no different for Raphael. Whenever you're having a conversation with him, does he make eye contact with you? Have you got him staring at you randomly? Yeah, several times actually. Onto his behavior. Does he open the door for you? Does he hold out your chair for dinner or such? Yeah, he was just being polite though. He was raised to always treat ladies appropriately. A dry scoff. Not likely, Sky. He likes you. I watched him last time I was over there. He went out of his way to make you laugh, smile, or cheer you up if you were down. He was comfortable with you. He hasn't showered you with false praises as far as I could tell, and he's genuinely happy being around you. I sat back against my pillow stand. I could name at least one instance where Raphael had done all the things Declan had described, and now I knew for certain why he had trusted me with his mother's locket. So, what do you need advice on? I took a shaky breath. Well, I don't want this to turn into another Caden incident, and I really value him as a friend. I don't want to start dating him and then have this awful breakup and then make it so that one of us has to go and you're babbling. Look, you've known him for a long time. It's up to you. But personally, I don't think he's the type to turn into a bitter ex if things don't work out. I do know this. You can't leave things the way they are, Sky. Either you're dating him or you're just friends. But keep in mind, it's not just you who's feeling conflicted right now. I'm pretty sure Raphael wants to know for certain what your feelings are. He may be patient, but he's not going to wait around for you forever. 2 hours later. After the phone call, I didn't feel like reading very much, instead pondering over the conversation that I had with Declan. It was not until my stomach growled that I realized that I was actually kind of hungry. I decided to go to the kitchen and grab myself something to eat. When I walked into the kitchen, though, I was not expecting the tall brunette woman sitting at the table and chatting with Raphael. Her hand was on top of his, and she was leaning very close to him. When I came in, though, it was as if she'd gotten jolted and sat back with some surprise. Raphael turned to look at me and cleared his throat, looking oddly embarrassed. "Hey, Sky," he began. "This is my coworker, Michelle. Michelle, this is one of my roommates, Sky." "Pleasure," Michelle said, smiling at me and offering her hand. "Likewise," I muttered, not entirely echoing the sentiment. Declan's words suddenly echoed in my mind. "He's not going to wait for you forever, Sky." He was right, I realized ruefully. Raphael was moving forward. "Is everything all right?" Raphael asked, looking slightly concerned. "Yeah," I said, coming out of my thoughts. "Yeah, no worries. I came down to give myself some water," I continued, heading to the fridge and mechanically pulling out a bottle of water. "I'm going to go upstairs again. It was nice meeting you, Michelle," I said, leaving the kitchen and heading back upstairs. Once I was back in my room, though, the tears began to fall as I climbed out the window. Once my feet hit the ground, I ran into the woods and did not look back. 5 hours later. "Where the hell is she?" Alistair said, walking back downstairs and into the living room. "She isn't in her room." "Bad news, fellas," Velen announced, entering the room as well. "I just talked to Lola, and Sky isn't with her. Sky's just vanished." "I'm sure she's fine and ducked out somewhere when none of us were looking," said Raphael, though he looked unconvinced. "By the way, who was the lady friend you had over earlier?" asked Alistair. "Who, Michelle? She's a coworker." "Just a coworker?" repeated Alistair skeptically. Velen blinked. "Do you have a crush on her, Raph? But I thought you liked Sky." Both of the older men looked at Velen in surprise. "You actually noticed?" "Well, yeah. What? You blocks think I'm blind or anything like that? I notice things," said Velen indignantly. Raphael never got the chance to reply, since the doorbell rang and I bounded out of the room and literally skidded to a halt in front of the door to answer it. "Sky, you're back! Where were—" "And you're not Sky," said the Australian, slumping in disappointment. Declan raised an eyebrow. "You mean that my sister isn't here? Do you know where she is? I can't get a hold of her." "We haven't seen her all afternoon," said Alistair with a frown. "You talked to her lately?" "Well, yeah, I did talk to her a couple hours back. How can you guys not know where my sister is? I saw her about 5 hours ago. She came down for a drink of water, offered Raphael. Declan frowned, noticing an empty water glass sitting on a nearby coffee table. That's not my sister's lipstick on that glass. It's a bit too dark. Whose is it? I had a co-worker over today, explained Raphael. Declan's eyes narrowed. This co-worker, you have any romantic interest in her? Don't you mean your girlfriend, Raph? Valen said with a teasing laugh. In response, Raphael threw a pillow at him. Not quite yet, but there's a fair chance of it happening. Declan stared at Raphael, completely flabbergasted, and then he strode to the fallen pillow, and then threw it right back at Raphael. What is it with you and Sky both being romantically challenged? He wrote. All three bikers stared back at Declan, who began pacing the room. You're insane, you know that. You saw her ex. You understand why she's being so hesitant, and you aren't waiting for her? Raphael's eyes narrowed. That's not the case. Sky made it clear that she's not comfortable with being romantically involved with me. I'm giving her space. If she doesn't want it, I'm not forcing her. I'd rather stay friends. Declan fumed for a few more seconds, and then he took a deep breath, his entire demeanor visibly calmed. I respect that, he said. You're aware of that detail. Good, that's good. What's not good is that she's assuming you want to be with your co-worker, he said, wrinkling his nose in distance. For my sister's sake, you better fix that assumption. Either that or just tell her flat out you don't want to date her, but quit avoiding the issue. Declan's eyes traveled around the room. If she gets hurt again, I'm going to kill you all while you sleep. Alistair and Valen, neither of you noticed she left. Raphael, you need to establish what your intentions are with her. I mean it. Her my sister, and I promise I'll get the sawed-off shotgun out, and you will not like what I do with it. With that parting thread, Declan stomped out of the house and slammed the front door behind him. A long silence followed after this announcement, and then Raphael growled. I can't win, lady, can I? He groaned. Ask her, get rejected. Try to move on, hurt her. Lovely situation that I'm in, really. Alistair and Valen exchanged glances with one another. Well, at least I'm not in your shoes, offered Valen at last, earning him a dirty look from Alistair. We better find her, unless we want to end up with the shotgun in our faces, said Alistair with a sigh. Who wants to check the woods out back? I'll go, said Raphael, rising to his feet. In a couple of quick steps, he had gotten his coat and was out the front door. When Alistair went to the window, it was to find that Raphael had already vanished from view. So, what exactly are we gonna do now? Valen asked. Alistair rolled his eyes before flopping onto the sofa and reaching for the remote. In case she comes back, we're going to stay here, so I'm going to watch TV while I wait for her. Chapter 11. Freak the Freak Out. About 20 minutes later, the telephone rang, and Alistair went over to it, turning the volume down on the television. Hello? Hi, Alistair. It's Sky. Oh, so the prodigal roommate finally calls. Where are you? He demanded. Relax, I'm with Lola, she said calmly. Don't panic and don't send anyone out to look for me. I'm hanging out with Lola for a bit. Yeah, Do us a favor in the future. Next time you sneak out, tell us where you're going. Your brother threatened to kill us if anything happened to you. He's bluffing. Later. And she hung up. Bluffing my ass, grumped Alistair under his breath. Sky has been located, Valen. She's gone over to Lola's, he said, sitting back on the sofa. The front door opened, and Raphael came in, looking unhappy. She's not back there. I found the horse stable, but no Sky. You just missed her call. She's out with Lola, said Alistair, gesturing to the recliner. Oh. Raphael went over to his recliner and sat down heavily in it. What are you watching? He asked. We're channel surfing, Valen said brightly, snatching the remote from Alistair and changing the channel. His eyes lit up when he saw what the channel was. MTV, sweet. They always have funny shows on, he said. Oh, a club show. He turned up the volume as Raphael rose to his feet. I'm getting a drink of water, he said, disappearing into the kitchen. This is Oswald Raymond, and I'm here at Dragon's Lair with the one and only Skylar Kaiba. Alistair stared. Call me Sky. No need to be formal, she said, smiling at the camera. Well, crap, groaned Alistair, looking at the kitchen before back to Valen. Change the channel. Change it now. I'm trying, whispered the Australian fiercely, clicking on the remote. But I think the freaking battery's dead. Who's this charming lady next to you? This is my best friend, Lola. What's up, people? Said the other girl, making a peace sign into the camera. Tell me Raphael is still in the kitchen, hissed Alistair as he scrambled over the back of the couch. He is, but why are we trying not to tell him about Sky being on TV? Are you kidding? After all the awareness that's happened today, I doubt he wants to see this. Not a good way to improve his mood. It can't be that bad, said Valen reasonably. So, Sky, what brings you to the club? Guy problems. She likes this guy, but she's not so sure he likes her anymore, said Lola matter-of-factly, and Sky nodded reluctantly in agreement. Wait to tell the world, Lola, Sky said sarcastically, a playful smirk on her face. Valen froze. Yeah, I'll go stall Raph. Go find batteries, he said hurriedly, already making a beeline from the kitchen. Does this guy have a name? Maybe we can offer some advice, offered the reporter almost eagerly. Alistair stopped where he was and stared in harder. If Raphael came out now, there would be no way to stop him from saying this. And honestly, the last thing any of them needed was publicity over this. Don't, Sky, don't say it. Please, 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 please. I'd rather not bring it up, Sky said politely, and Alistair sighed in relief, resuming his search for the batteries. You hit the karaoke machine yet? The reporter asked. It would be nice if we heard you sing. She was actually going to do just that, Lola exclaimed, excitedness in her voice and eyes. You know that I don't like to sing, and who says I have to sing? Sky questioned. Me, chica, Lola said, grabbing a hold of Sky's arm, ignoring her struggling and complaining. Been fun talking to you, Lola said, as she continued to drag Sky away. Lola continued, moving off screen just as Raphael reappeared in the room. Valen glanced in relief at the television as he came back into the room, watching the screen for any sign of Sky. Hey, you find the batteries? He asked as Raphael sat back down on the sofa. No, but I'm looking for it even as we speak, said Alistair as he disappeared from the room. Alistair did not get very far though. From the television, a very familiar voice began singing, and Alistair stopped. Raphael dropped his book, and Valen's jaw dropped. "Is that Sky?" asked the Australian in surprise. Raphael just stared at the camera, swung back onto her once again. She was on stage with Lola, but her voice was completely unrecognizable. Alistair recalled vaguely that the song she was singing was something by Victoria Justice. Raphael had recognized it too. The suddenly blank expression on his face gave it away as they listened to the lyrics. The three of them could not look away from the television until Sky was finished, at which point the reporter came back on. "Wow, I don't know what kind of guy trouble she's having, but that song was for you, mystery man. If you're seeing someone else, you've gotta be some kind of moron," he said cheerfully. Alistair walked over and turned the TV off with an irritated flick of the switch. He couldn't find the batteries and he wasn't leaving the television on so that Oswald Raymond could run his mouth some more. All three of the bikers were flabbergasted by Sky's performance though. "Holy crap, she's good, mate," said Valen, breaking the silence first. Raphael remained silent for a moment before he said quietly, "I didn't know she could sing like that. Hey, you think we could sell some of her stuff and make a fortune out of it?" "Now what do you think, Valen?" Chapter 12. Halo Carpets. Unfortunately for Alistair and Valen both, the very same program that aired on MTV ended up on the Fox channel, and Raphael ended up seeing what he had missed while he had been in the kitchen. This, of course, did not sit very well with him, and he left for a while shortly afterward. It was around midnight when their female roommate finally came back. "Hey guys, I'm home," Sky called, walking through the door and setting her purse on the table. "Dude, you sang. You have an amazing voice," Valen exclaimed. "Can I have your autograph?" "I live here, Valen. You don't need an autograph," she laughed, looking to Alistair. "Hey, where's Raphael?" she asked. Alistair did not look up from his book. "He went out somewhere in the woods for a while. Did you know there's a stable back there?" "Kinda. I almost forgot about it since I left for Doma and pretty much forgot about..." "Oh wait, he's back there?" "Yup," said Alistair bluntly. Sky was quiet for a moment. "You guys saw me on TV?" "Yup," Sky sighed. "How much did you see?" "Up to Osmond's shout out to the mystery man." "I'll go talk to him," she sighed, walking out the door. "Did you know that she liked horses?" asked Valen curiously. Alistair shrugged. "Well, we learn something new every day." Sky's POV. "For once I was grateful that I had created a path in the woods. The leaves are annoying to tear up a throw, and I will get lost for certain without it. I wonder what Raphael is thinking right now. I'm pretty sure I know what he's thinking. I don't know how much Raphael heard, but it's about time I start finding out what's going on and settle things once and for all." Walking a bit further, I finally come to the lake where Lola and I used to stop at when we rode our horses. I remember that one year we brought a bench to this lake. It's on this bench that I find Raphael on, seemingly lost in his thoughts. "It's pretty out here, don't you think?" Raphael jumped and looked at me for a brief second before looking away again. It is, he said simply, though I can already see the tension in his shoulders. I hesitated for a moment before I stilled myself. It's too late to back out now. Can I join you? He did not even turn around. He just gave me a nod in reply, and I took a seat on the other side of the bench. We sat there in silence for a little while, just looking around us. I decided to break the silence first. Raphael, What is it that you want me to do? He asked me suddenly, and then he looked over at me, with frustration plainly written on his features. You weren't sure when I asked you the first time, and I hurt you then. But when I tried to move on, you got hurt again. I don't know what it is you want me to do here, Sky, and I don't want to keep hurting you. I know, I sighed. I just got scared, that's all. I admitted reluctantly. Scared of what? That you will hurt me. Raphael stared at me stunned. You honestly think I will hurt you? I'm no Cadence, Sky, wrote, blue eyes flashing. I've known you since you joined Doma, but after everything we've been through, you're saying that you don't trust me? I do, and I'm not comparing you to Caden, I assured him. I'm just scared. I don't want us to end up hating each other in the end and having to go our separate ways. That's not fair to Valen or Alistair. Then there was Caden, who put me through all sorts of hell. I'm just kinda skittish about dating another guy after what happened. Raphael's sigh softened. I understand that. That was why I backed off and decided to see if I could find someone else to be with. It didn't work out though, since I'm not really sure she's my type anyways. I stared at him in surprise. You mean to tell me that you and Michelle aren't boyfriend-girlfriend? Her coming over to lunch was the third date I've had with her since Christmas Day, he replied weirdly. During the first two, I got the impression she just wanted to drag me around as an accessory on her arm. This afternoon she ended it, and I can honestly say I'm all the better for it. I let this latest information sink in, and then I laughed. Can I say something? Raphael arched an eyebrow at me. Michelle was a skank. That outfit she was wearing today, totally inappropriate. I giggled. To my pleasant surprise, the tension completely melted from Raphael's shoulders, and he let out the first genuine laugh I've heard in days. She was a bit too clingy, and you're right, she's a skank. Feel like having a late dinner? I asked him, getting to my feet. I don't mind. I take it you didn't eat at the club? Lola wouldn't let me, I replied, shaking my head. I love her, but sometimes she can be so pushy. Raphael got to his feet and began to go onto the path, but then he stopped moving, instead looking at me. Where do we go from here, Sky? He asked. I frowned. Why don't we just try it and see what happens? Go slow, and see if this is what we want. If it isn't, then we can back out before things escalate, and get ruined beyond repair. I offered at last, hoping that he would accept it. To my delight, he gave me a small smile. I can work with that, he said, beginning to walk alongside me on the path. Back at the house. I found him, called Sky happily as she entered the house, and then she stopped walking, staring in disbelief into the family room. What the hell? What? Asked Raphael as he came in behind her. When he saw what Sky was looking at, his mouth honestly dropped open. Valen had been wrapped in the rug, duct tape wrapped happenstantly around the rug to keep Valen in place. Alistair and Amber were looking deceptively innocent as they sat on the couch. They were playing Halo and ignoring Valen entirely. Alistair, what exactly happened? And why is Amber here when it's almost 1 o'clock in the morning? Asked Raphael, looking half amused and half exasperated. Valen snuck over to Amber's house and dyed her hair pink, Alistair said, not taking his eyes off the screen. Neon pink, might I add, Amber said, groaning as she took off her cap with a flourish and revealing her now pink hair. So you tied him up? It's better than doing what Amber wanted to do, replied Alistair absently as he shot an opponent on the screen. Which was? From the sky. Alistair looked over his shoulder with an arched eyebrow. Given how much we know Amber, what do you think she wanted to do? Blow him up? Offered two voices at the same time. You got it, confirmed Amber with a wicked grin, yelping when Alistair's player shot her. The hell, Alistair? What was that for? All's fair in love and war, said the redhead with a laugh. Come on, fellas, let me go, Valen went, trying to free himself. No, Amber said bluntly, killing Alistair's character. Yes, I blew you up, she cackled, just as her own character was blown up by one of Alistair's grenades. Damn it. Chapter 13. I Declare a Prank War. 4 months passed by in relative peace, during which nothing eventful occurred. During that time, Raphael and Sky started getting closer to one another. Although one could not say they were an item, yet things were definitely leaning in that direction. That particular morning found Alistair, Sky, and Raphael watching an episode of Criminal Minds. Alistair was on the recliner, while Raphael was sitting on the sofa with Sky. Let me see if I've got the gist of this, began Raphael with a frown. This mental maniac kidnaps 3 girls and forces them to kill one of their friends just so that they can be let out alive? Yep, replied Alistair, watching the television intently. Lovely, said the blonde, making a face. Hey, dudes, Lola announced as she entered the house with Amber in tow. The girl was carrying a small box in her arms and looked gleeful about something. Who said you could just walk into our house? Asked Alistair, turning the volume down on the television. I certainly didn't. Lighten up, said Sky. I gave her a key to the house, otherwise she'd just break down the door. You bet I will, laughed Lola, readjusting her grip on the box she was carrying. This got Raphael's attention. What's that? He asked curiously, pointing to what Lola was carrying. Nothing for you to worry about, said Lola, noticing the sudden trepidation that appeared on both Alistair's and Raphael's faces. Sky eyed the box with recognition. Is that what I think it is? Because if so, don't you think we're too old for that? We made that thing back in 3rd grade. There is no such thing as being too old, replied Lola sagely. Alrighty, boys, turn off that TV and go over to the table. We've got something you may be interested in. It's going to be fun, Amber added. Hold it, Amber. Whatever explosives you have on you are going right back out the door. The last time we let you in with them, You blew up the toilet, said Alistair irritably. Fine, fine. Put a damper on my fan. Why don't you? Complained Amber as she moved back out of the house. Lola waited until Amber had come back before she opened the box at the table. Inside was a crown made of cardboard, tissue paper, plastic gems, and the letters L and P. My dear friends, Lola announced, began passing back and forth in front of the bikers and Amber. Today I officially declare this to be our first annual prank day. Throughout the course of the day, we shall prank each other until only one of us remains standing. The last one standing will be declared Lord or Lady of the Pranks until next year, when we do this again. Oh, how exciting! It will be such an honor to wear such a crappy-looking crown. Alistair did deadpanned. Sky and I made this in 3rd grade, retorted Lola indignantly. I'd like to see you do better at that age. Alistair arched an eyebrow. I was learning how to disarm landmines and how to properly use a flamethrower at that age, he said darkly. Everyone took at least three steps back from the redhead. Who was victorious last year? Asked Raphael, deciding to change the subject. Sky! She's better at this than you think, replied Lola, scowling at the other girl. She hasn't lost once in the past 8 years. Which is why I'll sit this one out, stated Sky reluctantly. I want to let someone else win the crown, that and the fact I've matured somewhat. I'll have to bow out as well, said Raphael. I'm not that great at thinking up pranks. I usually leave it up to Alistair and Valen to do that. I'm in, Alistair said. I know Valen will be as well. Of course I'm in. You couldn't make me miss this for anything, declared Valen with a wicked grin. That means we have an even number. Boys versus girls. Sky, start it for us. The girl rolled her eyes and sighed. Thank you, most noble contestants, for choosing to partake in this challenge. As your lady, I declare that the war shall officially begin at noon. Do not start any earlier than that. The deadline is sundown. You may take this time to plot out your pranks, she recited. It was clear that she had to do this many times before now. The 4 competitors scattered almost as soon as she was done. Sky sighed and then padded over to the pantry. I'm making popcorn, she said over her shoulder. Want some, Raphael? Alistair was sitting on the sofa, watching yet another episode of Criminal Minds, when Valen walked into the room. Your turn to take Jasper on a walk, the redhead announced boldly. Whatever, Valen replied, going to the closet door. He grabbed the doorknob to turn it and opened the door, but then blinked when he touched something slippery. What the hell? He tried again, this time using both his hands to try and pull the door open, but he lost his balance and fell back. He ended up landing in a pie tin filled with cream cheese. Valen's out of the running, called Sky as she passed him. Dang it, I should have seen that coming, yelled Valen. Alistair waited until 3 o'clock before he decided on the shower. The last Criminal Minds episode for the day had aired. It would not be for another couple hours until another program came on. He reached for his shampoo bottle inside the shower, only to find it glued shut. Silly girls, he said, smirking as he picked up Raphael's shampoo bottle. You're going to have to do better than that. A few minutes later, he got out of the shower and dried his hair off, heading over to start blow-drying his hair, at least until he caught a glimpse of his now purple hair in the mirror. He stormed out of the bathroom to find that Lola was leaning against the banister, an innocent expression on her face. Why, Alistair? How could such a thing has possibly happened to you? You're evil. I know. You do realize, though, you're going to have to buy Raphael a new shampoo bottle, right? I dumb he wants purple hair. Lola shrugged. It's a small price to pay in the grand scheme of things. You're out, she said airily as she skipped away. Sky sighed. Amber, wherever you're hiding, heads up. Prank World is officially on hold until tomorrow. Amber poked her head out of the chimney and saluted them all, vanishing from view seconds later. She really likes that chimney. Next day. Sky! wailed Lola as she barged into the house. Sky, help! What happened? asked Sky as she flew down the stairs, noticing that the Hispanic girl was wearing a long coat and thick scarf that obscured her features. This! Lola cried, taking off her scarf and coat to reveal that her skin was now a very bright shade of orange. Sky. Orange! I look like a freaking Oompa Loompa. Looks like Amber struck again, remarked Alistair, a barely noticeable smirk on his face as he passed by. That means I won, called Amber triumphantly as she rolled out of the chimney. She did a fist pump before turning to Sky with a demanding expression on her face. Where's the crown? Sighing, Sky went over to the bookshelf and placed the crown on the shorter girl. Congrats, Amber, she said. You are victorious. You have won the title. Blah, blah. Sorry. Blah, blah, blah. Sorry about that, guys. Sorry. Let me continue, sorry. Valen, who had come downstairs to find out who screamed, began to laugh at Lola. That's Amber for ya, he said in between laughs. You look like someone who got one of those fake tan things. Say anything more and you die. Can I use your shower, Sky? asked Lola desperately. Amber looked over. She has to. Sky's body wash makes that stuff come right off, she said wisely. Once Lola had disappeared upstairs, Sky sat down at the kitchen table to begin writing in her music book. She was in the mood to write a song, but the words weren't coming to her. Damn it. Hey, Raphael, she called over her shoulder to where Raphael was, reading in the living room. Yeah? My pen died. Can you grab me one from the dresser in there? Top drawer on the right? Sure. Sky gave a wicked grin, but said nothing until she heard a small explosion from the living room, getting up to see the effects of her handiwork. When Raphael had opened the drawer, he had been blasted with a mini ink bomb. The end result was that the upper half of his body was covered in black ink. I told you I'm queen of the pranks, she said, grinning at the almost stunned expression on Raphael's face. Amber might have the crown, but I'll always be known as the prank queen. Raphael stared at her mutely before a rare look of mischief crossed his features. Then here, almighty queen, let me give you a big hug as a token of my undying gratitude that you honored me in this manner, he proclaimed, opening his arms and advancing on Sky. Hell no! Stay away! She squealed, making a break for it out the front door. Raphael was not far behind her, and Jasper was on his heels. Lola, who had witnessed this narrow scene from the stairs, sighed contentedly. Ah, young love. Chapter 14. If Alistair was gay. How could this get much better? An afternoon alone with my favorite book. No roommates to bother me, and suddenly no annoying Aussie to get on my nerves, Alistair said, almost happily, reaching for his book as he settled in the recliner. Hey, Alistair, Van said, entering the house as if on cue. Alistair groaned. There went his peaceful afternoon. Hi, Valen, he said grudgingly, glaring at the teenager before opening his book. I thought you were with Amber. I was, but not the point. You'll never guess what happened to me today on the bus. This guy was smiling at me and talking to me. That's very interesting, Alistair said sarcastically, not tearing his eyes away from his book. It's not every day that a human being chooses to talk to you. Truly, you are a blessed individual. Yep, he was being real friendly. I think he might have thought I was gay. At this, Alistair's gaze shifted to the teen. Lovely thought. Why are you telling me this? I don't care. Well, you don't have to get all defensive about it, Alistair. What makes you think I'm being defensive? Demanded Alistair, getting up from his chair to get a drink of water. I just don't really care about what you did today. I'm trying to read. I'm not saying that you're gay, Al. Change of subject, Valen. Now. But now. Well, okay. But on another note. Valen paused, taking a deep breath, and for a moment, Alistair thought the Australian might just drop it. And then, if you were gay, that'd be okay. Alistair stiffened. I mean, 'cause, hey, I like you anyway. Valen, what part of change the subject didn't you understand? And stop singing. You're tone deaf. Because you see, if you were me, I would feel free to say that I was gay. Valen paused. I'm not though, just so you know. Alistair huffed irritably and resumed reading, at least until Valen began singing again. If you were queer, I'd still be here. Valen, year after year. Valen, because you're dear to me. Because you're dear to me. I'll murder you if you don't shut up. At that, Valen finally stopped singing. Alistair sighed in relief, beginning to read once again in the blissful silence. Valen tilted his head ruefully as he disappeared into the kitchen. Singing had irritated his throat since he was not used to it. After taking a huge gulp of water, though, he felt refreshed, and a grin split his features. So what would it matter to me what you do in bed with guys? Alistair rolled in frustration and threw his book down. That's just nasty, Valen. I mean it. Shut up! When Valen continued to sing, Alistair plucked his ears and began singing at the top of his voice. I'm not listening. La 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 la. When this did nothing to deter Valen, the redhead started yanking on his hair out of frustration. Valen, for the final time, shut up! He yelled. The brunette grinned and opened his mouth to continue singing, but then Alistair was tackling him to the ground with a frustrated roar. A few minutes later, Damn! What the hell happened in here? Sky said in disbelief, looking at the living room. The furniture was up and dead. The TV was cracked, and the window was broken. A blur erupted from the kitchen, and Valen ran straight for Raphael. "Raph, for the love of God, save me!" he screamed, ducking behind Raphael just as the furious Alistair began storming toward them. Sky moved in between Alistair and Valen and gently pushed the red-haired man back. "What's this about?" "He won't stop singing," Alistair enunciated with gritted teeth. And not only can he not sing, he keeps assuming I'm gay. But he dresses like it. Yeah, but Raphael dresses like a bodybuilder, and I don't hear you telling him that he's an iron-pumping maniac. Gee, thanks, Alistair. I appreciate that, said Raphael drearily. All right, enough. Alistair, Valen, I want this room cleaned up now, so get to it, ordered Sky firmly, pointing to the closet where they stored the cleaning supplies. As Alistair and Valen moved on, grumbling under their breaths, Sky pinched the bridge of her nose. Idiots! That's all for today, guys. But don't you guys worry. The next part will be coming to you very soon. If you guys enjoyed it, subscribe, hit like, and turn on the notification bell. I'll see you guys soon. Bye!